All right, so welcome to another episode of Sudden Change Pod. It's your boy Beans. Been a while. We got Jay here. How you feeling?
Good, man. Good. Hey, like I just said, gearing up for year two. It's ready for football, honestly. Like we're almost at that time, training camp. So ready to get the thing jump started.
Yeah, it's definitely coming quick. So we got a date for well, it was combine, but what we're gonna do to determine the draft order. Initially it was gonna be combine, but you said in the chat the other day we're gonna change to punt, pass, kick. What was the reason for that change?
Just honestly, overexertion. I feel like nobody's definitely doing any type of drills or cutting. So um, just to preserve everybody, especially, if we're gonna have a live draft too, just we just try and get the draft order and get in and get out. Like I get the whole, competing and stuff, but I really don't want to see an injury. So I think that's probably the safest way. So I won't do that.
Yeah, it's a few guys in the chat that think they're still young, I guess, and they always want to do whatever the most physical thing is. So I'm happy with
I
it.
I've seen all the Achilles injuries from you to Jordan to even John. So like I'm good. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I don't know
forgot
what's
it was.
next. Yeah,
Yeah, I forgot it was three tiers just in this one league. That's crazy.
crazy. So safest way, and I think it'll be fun to see, kicking off a tee, throwing, and putting. So should be fun.
Yeah, that'd be a good time. We haven't recorded since like right after the draft, I think. So a lot has gone on. We'll get into some of the moves. Just want to know your initial impressions on a couple of things. One, the big one, of course, Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers. What do you think when you heard that, and what do you think about that fit?
Um, I'm not sure because them trading Pickens, it's kind of tough to see like just what they can do offensively. Najee's gone, got a couple backs, got a back in the draft. Jalen Warren maybe stepping up. DK, does he have enough around him, to be satisfied? I don't know if his situation got any better now with Pickens gone. Better quarterback, but how much, how much firepower do they have on offense? So I'm not sure with that one. Aaron Rodgers, he's still, he could get it done, when everything around him is well, but I'm just not too sure yet.
Yeah, who do they have at wide receiver behind DK? I don't even know what that roster looks like.
I know Roman Wilson, second year guy. Bobby Trees is over there now.
Okay.
Um, honestly, like after that, like it gets kind of like murky. I'm not sure if Scotty Miller's still over there. I know what's his face left in the offseason. Mike Williams, so he's not there. So it's
Yeah.
definitely a little revamp. It's a little revamp group. So I don't know. Tomlin always finds a way to get to 500 though. So that ain't the problem. It's just is it contending? I'm not sure.
So that was the other thing I was going to ask about that situation. What do you think the dynamics will be between Rodgers and Tomlin? Tomlin has got this kind of reputation of being no nonsense, and Rodgers kind of has a reputation of kind of stepping all over his coaches. So how do you think that dynamic is going to be?
I think with Rodgers taking the amount of time that he did to decide where he was going to go, I feel like there probably some some egos put away. Just having a mutual respect for each other. Because he could have just stayed home. You know what I mean? There's no need to do all that. And I just feel like Tomlin's probably earned a lot of respect from a lot of guys. With a couple characters that he's dealt with, and who we see now that like you wonder how even Tomlin even got to that. You know what I mean? Like just you just wonder how Tomlin even got the best out of those guys to just seem like they're well rounded. But I hope Aaron Rodgers don't come in with that type of nonsense because he's done it for a while and it's kind of old now. Like it's just like if that's the case, just go home and retire, man. Like go back to your cave and let's just let bygones be bygones.
Yeah, it gets harder and harder to defend as the years go on with some of the antics that he pulls. Just the other day, another former Packer, we released Jaire, ended up with the Ravens. What do you think about that move, that fit?
I mean, if he's healthy, like a lot of names look good on paper, but like he's also missed like a lot of games in the last couple of years. But that could be one of the best secondaries. Like I think Jay Green said in the chat, that could be one of the best secondaries if healthy, and everything goes their way. That can be that can be one of the best teams on defense. Um, just at the safety position, having an All Pro and a rookie next to him.
Mhm.
Nate Wiggins coming up at corner, and then Jaire, being that vet in the group, and Roquan, all those guys. Like it's a tough group. So um, it's got to be Super Bowl or bust for them, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know we see a lot of the issues being on offense when it comes to like the playoffs when it really comes down to it. But with the healthy Jair and the defense looking that way, does that bring them up a notch, or is it really just on the offense?
It's just in totality. Like I just feel like the offense got to do their part, and then the defense got to. You got the names. You got to get the stops and the turnovers at this point. Like nothing else is needed to say. Like like you've been there, you've been close, you got the MVPs. There's nothing else for the Ravens to do besides get to a Super Bowl and win it with this core. So yeah, you can have all the names you want, but if you ain't getting the job done in December to play in February, then it really don't matter.
It's true. Those were the two names that immediately came to mind for me. Was there any other big names that signed in the past month or two since the draft that you could think of?
Um, not and no, not really, not since the draft. I just feel like the Jair one was probably the big one, and I
Yeah,
think whatever happens with Ramsey will probably be the next one. I know they're not planning on keeping him, so post draft, I think that'll be one of the bigger ones because I think a lot of contenders could use him. So yeah, I think that. Other than that, though, I think Jair is definitely the bigger one.
gotcha. So Ramsey is still with the Dolphins, right?
Dolph,
As
yeah,
of right now. So yeah, I was going to talk about the best free agents that are still available. Before we do that, we could talk about Ramsey. What do you think is a good spot for him? How much do you think he has in the tank? Because he's starting to get up there, right?
yeah, yeah. Ramsey's got to be. I think they were talking about him converting to safety. I think he was kind of trying to model himself after Charles Woodson's,
Okay.
career late in his career.
Yeah.
That's what he was, trying to mold himself as. And a lot of coaches say they see him making that move to safety. I just feel like honestly, whatever contender just really wants to bring him in because he wouldn't need to play for much. I think he at this point in his career, he's made the money. I think it's just win another Super Bowl. Um, the same names that we always see that come up, whether it's the Niners, the Eagles, so have it. I think one of those teams could probably make a move, but it's tough to tell. Especially with camp coming, you don't know, what bodies are, they're gonna move around or whatever. So it's kind of tough to say, what exactly. But honestly, half the league could use Ramsey.
Yeah. Thanks. So I'm gonna give you two names on offense, two names on defense that are free agents, and just tell me, do you think they can be difference makers at this point in their career? Um, Amari Cooper is still out there. I don't know if he did himself much justice last year. He didn't do much for his stock because he didn't play that well towards the end. And then Keenan Allen. Those two guys, what do you think?
Mm, maybe Keenan Allen. I think he's put up a little bit more production later in his career. I mean, I don't know. Amari's weird. Like I felt like he played well with the quarterback situation what it was in Cleveland. I felt like he did well. Then he gets a trade to Buffalo, and it's just like he went missing. I think Keenan still has a little bit more spark to him, being a possession receiver. He's not taking the top off of defenses, but I think he could still find a little cracks in the defense and the zones underneath. I think he could be valuable to a wide receiver room.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But at this point in time, definitely not a wide receiver one, you would say.
Definitely not. Nah. He had
Uh,
his time. It was a good
nah,
run.
he when he was in his prime, he was one of the best. He was always kind of underrated to me, but he was a dog in his prime.
Cheese boy. That's cheese boy. Love Keenan Allen.
Defensively, I think these guys both are still out there. Justin Simmons, Asante Samuel Jr. What do you think about those guys? Two of the bigger names on
What's
defense.
what's which is surprising for me. Asante is very young, so I'm surprised he's still out on the board. Justin Simmons, he had a up and down year with us. A couple of interceptions, but he didn't. He wasn't a standout. Like you wouldn't know he was on defense. A few times, like we had games. I'm like, I didn't even know he was even active. So situation fit. I just feel like he's not going to be the immediate impact starter, but
Yeah,
he'll definitely help. A team defense. Be a little bit more sound.
fair. Um, But so Asante, you think he'll
I'm
find
gonna go
some?
Asante. Yeah, I think Asante could be the better of the two. So if he gets picked up to a good situation, I think he could be a solid wide receiver. What's that wide receiver? Cornerback too. I think that'll be his type of role.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely use a guy like that.
Yeah,
I definitely don't want to see
yeah.
Nixon at so anybody but Nixon. Uh,
Anybody but Nixon.
um, so yeah, one of the other moves that we saw was Pickens went to the Cowboys, which sparked debate in the chat about what the best wide receiver duos at this point are. So I'm just gonna go through a few. You tell me like how you feel about them. Is there any other duo that can even compete at the top with Chase and Higgins? Are they like above everybody, or is there anybody close?
Puka and Devontae, I think if they're healthy, like if VA had his little, but the Jets had issues on offense.
Yeah.
I think those two can definitely they can compete to be one of the best, if not the best duo in the league. Just with Puka, what he brings, and then Adams can still do it at a high level. I think they'll be close, and I wouldn't rule out AJ and Devontae, but it's all dependent on Hurts. So, like, it's not like they're a bad duo, but
Yeah,
when you have Barkley and then you also have a running quarterback, it takes away from what those two can do numbers wise.
fair. Um, so the big debate we kind of went back and forth and it got a little contentious was who's the better duo out of AJ Brown and Smitty or the newly found Lamb and Pickens. Half the chat I think was on one side, half the chat was on the other side. Who do you think is the better duo?
AJ and Smitty. Um, Pickens makes the great catches, but like
Yeah,
we also seen why is Pickens even out there? Like what I mean, he's got the bonehead plays. He's a great talent, but like AJ and CD kind of wash each other out. And it's like you got a Smitty and a Smitty's obviously not as athletic as Pickens, but he's very productive in his role.
yeah, consistent.
Because he's probably like the fourth option, honestly. If taking the ball, if you're giving the ball to Hurts, Barkley, AJ, and then it's probably him. So um, for where he's at, I'll definitely go with those two because he could put up wide receiver one numbers if he had to.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, they made some good points in chat, but I definitely would go with Smitty and AJ first. So, do you think we could see a career year from Lamb, seeing that he probably has the best number two beside him now that he's ever had? He's not the only guy out there.
I think so. Yeah, I think like he was still doing it even without a number two. So having a guy in Pickens that's going to demand you to pay attention to him, like you really can't play him one on one. And CD can play all over the field. It could definitely be a career year for CD.
Yeah, I definitely would agree. I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see where he gets drafted as well. Probably be pretty high, but
Yeah,
after last
it'll
year,
be
maybe.
first round. It'll be definitely
Oh,
first.
for
Well, he
sure,
went
for sure.
first. He went first. So, yeah.
Depends who's there. Whoever gets that
Hey
number.
man, get your rookie.
Um, so yeah, I think that combo that gets forgotten about just because of 1 year, but 2 years ago they were the top combo, which was Reek and Waddle when Tua was healthy. So are we overlooking them just because of that Tua injury? And the two of them do have the injury history as well. But
You
when
know
on the
what?
field together,
I wouldn't even blame like Tua. I just feel like Waddle just kind of like just flatline kind of like it's just his production is granted they could not get the ball to either of those two when Tua was out.
right?
And then when Tua came back, Waddle, I mean, Reek tried, but like Waddle still wasn't. It was just, I'm not sure. I don't know if the offense needs some tweaking or like teams just caught on to what they do offensively. They're probably one of the more explosive duos, but um, if Reek isn't being himself, then that takes that duo completely down because he's what brings Waddle up to being one of the top duos. His the way he was about a year or two ago, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's fair. I was hoping to get that last year. I took Reek early, and then it just
Yeah,
I don't know, just didn't pan out. But hopefully everybody stays healthy. There was a couple of up and coming duos that got mentioned in the chat, so I want to hear what you think about which one is better. They're both in the same division. We had St. Brown and Jameson with Detroit, and we had JJ and Addison with the Vikings. Which duo do you like better? Up and coming duo.
I'll go with the Lions. Um, I feel like JMO, like he's definitely like he's on the rise up. Like I feel like without his off season, his off the field, BS, um, he Addison started coming to his own too. But I think I think they complement each other more than the Addison and that's nothing against those two. I feel like later in the season, Addison actually probably played some of the best ball that a wide receiver two could play,
Yeah.
besides Jefferson. But I think if that Lions offense can at least remotely be close to what they did, I think it's those two.
So the Vikings have the new quarterback. The Lions have the new coaching staff, other than the head coach, new OC. So you're still going with that, even with the changes on both sides. You still think
Yeah,
the team
because golf knows his guys.
fair.
OCs, the play calling be different, but the quarterback and the chemistry is still there. Whereas JJ may take some time for those two. He's going to hear getting the ball to JJ, so that may hurt Addison a little bit. And it remains to be seen like what if he can even do it. But having golf there for a couple years with those two, it solidifies the chemistry.
That's fair. What was I say? So JJ with the new quarterback, where where do you rank him in terms of fantasy wise? Because last year we were lower on him, and he still showed out even with who they have last year.
Darnold,
Even
Darnold.
with Darnold, we didn't expect him to still show up quite as much. Should we just take it as no matter who the quarterback is, he's going to shine after we saw last
At,
year?
at that point, because the numbers Chance was putting up with this dude, I'm like, he'd be a fool not to because it's always a chance with him. He's shown that listen, whether it's Kirk Cousins or a 1 year rental, like he can still get the job done. What do you finish? He finished top five, so it's just like
Yeah,
you can't ignore that. They were one of the best teams in the league too. Lost by what 2, 3 games. So I mean, if that wasn't enough to see it, like honestly, you got to believe in Kevin O'Connell. I just feel like he's a coach that doesn't really get a lot of recognition, but I think he does well. Being a former quarterback, I think he does well at that position. Getting guys, just prepared to, just deal with whatever they have. Because I think they plug in and plug guys out, and then it still works. So yeah, Jettas is still top five. Like you'd be a fool not to.
my only concern is that Darnold didn't produce a whole lot with his first team, but he was a top pick. And coming out of college, we did expect him to do a lot in the league. He just was in a bad situation. Um, we've always looked at JJ as McCarthy kind of as like a game manager in college. So I think the two of them have kind of different ceilings as quarterbacks. But
Definitely,
maybe
yeah.
that's just me.
Darnold being a top, top one of the top picks, and then JJ, he still went, at
He went early, but
they went early, but just how they played at Michigan, I think
right,
they didn't have a Jettas either, and Harbaugh has always been a run first guy. So
that's true.
um, I don't know if we ever seen the maxed out JJ McCarthy at quarterback. Like just drop back. Hey, can you throw it 35 times? And it's a little different when you got Jettas out there. You got two of
Yeah,
your premier receivers. Like so
that's
I
true.
think time will tell with him. In a whole off season, healthy. I think it only bodes well for him. So we'll see.
Yeah, and then a question about the Lions, which will take us into our discussion of power rankings. Do we think that offense? Ben Johnson kind of made that offense with the play calling, and this is exciting. Do we think with the new OC, we're going to see that same level of point scoring, of creativity with the Lions? Are they going to be anywhere near what they were?
So my thing with that, I think the Lions were just it was just you didn't know what to expect with Ben Johnson. Just like the excitement of a formation or a play, just oh wow, we've never seen that. Those
Yeah,
same talented guys are still over there though. Like still
fair.
got Gibbs, still got Montgomery, got
Mhm.
St. Brown. You actually added, you added a receiver in the draft. You got JMO, like golf is still there. It may not be the same type of aura that that we're accustomed to, where they're running like shovel passes with running back to receiver, like passes to tackles, like
Yeah,
like those
it,
things is what catch a fan's eye because it's unique. So, but they're still one of the better talented teams in the league. That's why, like, yeah, the OC is different, but like one of the best O lines in the league, and some of the best skills. It really is at this point is mano a mano. It's like they're still better than a lot of teams. So I don't know if it'll be at the same excitement, but I think they'll be fine.
yeah, I would agree with that. You had them in your your top five. So let's go through it real quick. We both had the Eagles number one. I posted them on some of the socials, and there was a few people that were giving me backlash
TikTok,
about the Eagles
boy,
being number one.
they
I don't know what the argument is for them not being number
it's
one. Who else?
TikTok. It's TikTok. They got nothing else to do but argue with you. That's why I let leave that to you. They wake up that debate. Like they don't care what you did. Like you know what? You picked the Eagles. Why not? Let me go with somebody else. Like they just
Yeah,
devil's advocate.
yeah. I just and nobody was able to make a good argument about they weren't why they weren't number one. So I'm just gonna
Had a
assume that.
great draft. Had a great draft. Got a steal with Jahai Campbell, and they
Yep.
just reloaded. Like they just literally just reloaded.
Yeah, I don't see anybody. I don't want to say anybody close, but I think they're number one by a decent amount. Um, so you had Ravens, then Chiefs. I had it reverse Chiefs, then Ravens. Why you put Ravens two over the Chiefs?
I think I think the Chiefs have a better team. They just don't get it done. Like
Mm,
defensively, their draft. I think we did this right after the draft. So I love your draft. Getting Malachi Starks, Mike Green, like adding those guys, and now adding a Jaire. Like I think
yeah.
that only boosts them. So it's not even like the count Mahomes. I just like what they did better in the draft.
Yeah, and the Chiefs are weird. They've been weird during the regular season for the past 3, 4 years.
Won't win like 7 games by 1 point, but they'll be 13-1.
Yeah,
It's just it's weird, definitely.
they turn it on in the playoffs. Do you think at some point that's going to catch up with them though? Like maybe they get too low of a seed, they don't have that home field, whatever.
Nah, because I just feel like they just the division got better. And then you added Pete Carroll into the division. Um, so you having Sean Payton there. They've gotten better. Broncos are showing
A lot
some.
better.
Yeah, definitely got a lot better. Chargers. Jim Harbaugh. He's going to compete. His team. They were the surprise of probably the AFC. Getting into the playoffs after a bad year and then having a whole regime change. So. Um, I don't know. I just feel like Andy Reid and those guys, like they just been doing it for so long, and they just retool as well. Like they may not get the popular names in the draft, but they know how to plug it. Like they drafted a tackle that people won't talk about, but like
Mm.
Mahomes had issues with tackles last year, so you solidify his front seven, his front offensive lineman. That changes a lot of ball games for them because they couldn't
Yeah.
block nobody in the Super Bowl.
Oh, that was ugly for sure. And then at number four, we had a third AFC team in a row with Buffalo. Do we feel like the tide has shifted? It used to always be the NFC was the better conference. Is the AFC the better conference now?
Yeah, loaded at quarterback. I feel like the better of the quarterbacks are. It finally switched. Like when we grew up, the
Yeah,
NFC was where you had the Matt Ryans and Aaron Rodgers, and then Eli was there, and then Tony
yeah,
Romo and
yeah,
Drew Brees. Like it was. You'd be lucky. Like your wild card game could be against Aaron Rodgers, or it could just be against Eli Manning, who just came off a Super Bowl. So like
yeah,
the ties definitely changed. Because before it was probably just like Brady and Roethlisberger. So, dealing with Mahomes yearly. Josh Allen's coming, Lamar, Burrow, like C.J. Stroud is on the way. Trevor Lawrence is trying to do something. Like
yeah.
Drake Mays, trying to come up in the game. Like it's just Aaron Rodgers is there now. Like it's man, like
Yeah, it's definitely.
be well over here.
Yeah, I think the AFC is definitely a gauntlet now. Back in the past, we always knew it was going to be either the Patriots coming out or whoever Peyton was with, whether it was Denver or Indianapolis. I mentioned somebody else, and Ben
Roethlisberger,
Roethlisberger.
man,
It
yeah,
was
like
those three guys really. You always knew who it was going to be. But
but
the
like
NFC, it could have been anybody any year.
AFC is so crazy. Like we can name, about 9 to 10 quarterbacks. Only seven are going to make it. So a few of them are going to like underachieve over there, and
Yeah,
that's just we didn't even bring up Tua. Like they have to win. So it's like where do they fall in?
yeah,
Um, you got rookies coming up. Like yeah, hey, I don't know where you put Herbert. I don't know. Geno's over there now. Like he played well. He was one of the top passing leaders. Coming out the whole NFL. So
yeah.
does that carry? I don't know, man. Hey, better them than me, man.
I'm glad it's starting to ease up. Even I mean, the conference, the NFC is still very tough, but
Definitely. But
it's
it's
not. I
like
think it's the
when you had
AFC
Hall
now.
of Famers, like how they're gonna probably
Yeah, a
potentially have
bunch
the
of them.
AFC. It's just like, man, you got your work cut out. Just because you had a bye, all right, you coming off a bye, but then like, guess what? Hey, Drew Brees pulling up after just throwing for 450. Like, man, that was some tough times, man.
Yeah. So at five, we differed again. I had Detroit. I'm sorry, you had Detroit. I had the Commanders. Why do you pick Detroit over the Commanders?
Detroit is just they're still the same team. I get Ben Johnson's gonna make everyone kind of get off that bandwagon, but
Mhm.
like you got your 1-2 punch at running back, fix the defense. You got some DBs, like you get Hutchinson back. That's still Dan Campbell. Crazy as he is, that's still one of the better teams in the NFL.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely get it. I think it might be overhyped a little bit, just the changes and how it's going to affect things. I think
Yeah,
it'll definitely still be all right. Um, so we'll go through our division, see who we think is going to win them. We could start right there in NFC North, which is maybe still the toughest or one of the toughest divisions. Does Detroit still, with those guys, still have enough to win that division?
man, like I can't even answer that right now because the way that y'all acted last year, like I don't know what to like. What do you like? How do you even predict that division right now? Like
Tough
now
stuff.
you add, the Bears reloaded everything. Like they said, yo, O line, receivers, drafting, Grady Jarrett's over there. Like Packers, like your coach is like he can coach, and it's like, but you let a lot of guys go, so it's like, is
Yeah,
that gonna hurt you? Is like man, the Lions losing Ben Johnson, and they having to retool, losing their center. I have no answer for the NFC North. That's one I don't want to answer. Because I think the one I pick, it will probably be the one that has a tough time. Like so, I mean, just
if I
it's
had to
tough.
pick, yeah, if I had to pick today, just because of their consistency, I would go Detroit. I'd probably put us two. Put Minnesota three just because we don't know how JJ is gonna adapt early. So I mean, I don't mind saying I would put Detroit first. I'd go to some ones that are probably easier first. NFC East. I'm assuming we're gonna go with Philly. That's still at the top.
I'm going to Commanders to win that division this year.
Really,
Commanders going to win the division.
it's not crazy. I mean,
It's not. I think they on their way. Like
for
they play the
sure.
Eagles very well. I mean, granted, the NFC championship got a little out of hand. But another year, Jaden Daniels, like he surprised me. I didn't think the kid could ball like that. Like he had his moments, but like he took off. And if they're going, if as long as he keeps, getting big, doesn't have a sophomore slump, I think they'll be right in the mix for the division title.
Yeah, they made some changes. They got Debo and a couple other pieces. Is that enough to take him there, or are you just saying that Jaden's gonna take that next step and that's why they're
I
gonna be
think
there?
I think Debo will help. I would like to see another probably different running back at the helm. I just feel like that can really solidify them because
For
with
sure.
him already running the ball, you don't really want that all the time. But having a bell cow that can kill some clock for you and he can still throw the ball to his targets, I think they're going to be tough to defend.
Yeah, okay. Let's stay in the NFC South. I mean, NFC and go to the NFC South. I assume you're going to say
Big
Atlanta.
Penix energy. Yeah, man. Yeah. We got to do. If it's not now, I don't know when it'll be. Like, and
Yeah,
granted, the Bucks have a superb court, wide receiver court. I think they
too
they
many
got
actually.
yo. Somebody's going to be the odd man out, right? Like,
Yeah,
because you can't put all of them on the field, but I think they got the plan for after Mike and Godwin, and then they got the young guys there with quality vets, and I think Bucky Irving is one of the better running backs that came on later in the season. They're always
stay.
going to be tough. But we swept them last year with Kirk, which is crazy. So
I remember the first game he did big numbers. I don't remember the
we
second
beat
game.
him. He threw for like 500 on that Thursday, and then I think he threw
That's
for
what I
like three
remember.
something.
Yeah,
And then I think he threw for like three something at Tampa. We swept them, but we didn't do nothing outside of that.
yeah,
If it's not now, then I think Penix is going to have a good year. Health, staying healthy. Bijan, I think he's turning into that back. And I like what we did on in the draft. Defensively, we probably could have around about four starters from the draft. So, and it's got to be now or never. It's been about 6 7 years. Like
nah,
it's now or never.
I definitely agree. I'm just timid to put them. I want them to be number one. I assume they'll be number one, but it's just hard for me just because of all the hype last year and how I was all in on them winning division last year, and then it kind of just
Went
fell apart.
6-3, and then
Right.
I don't know
So
what happened, bro. Yeah, yeah.
that's the only part that scares me is that just they can
But
start so well and then fall.
I think the difference, Penix like the competitor in Penix is way different than it is in Kirk. Kirk is more of the Penix is hungry. Like it's just like he's been counted out, whether his injury history and him having to sit for majority year. I think it'll be. I think he's wired a little different than Kirk, and I think that'll definitely be good for that team. And I think him and Drake have a connection that I don't think the league is ready. I don't think the league is ready for that. I think it's different. Like it's just I seen it within the last 3 games, and he barely practiced with him. So having a full offseason with Drake and Mooney, yeah, I think it's time. It has to be.
Yeah, I hope so. Last on the NFC side, you got the NFC West, which is always kind of hard to predict because every team could be really good or they could be bad. So, who you like in the NFC West? Everybody on
It's
TikTok was high on the Rams for some reason.
I get it because that's what you saw last, and then they played the Eagles well
Yeah,
in the NFC division. Are the Niners back? Like, is it enough at receiver? Like, I don't trust Kyler, but I like the team. I don't trust like if it wasn't for Kyler, because I love what they did getting Will Johnson. Like that's one of my favorite picks in the draft.
defense is good. Yeah, defense should be good.
Should be real good. I'm gonna go, man. Shanahan. It's like now or never for him too. It's like when are y'all ever gonna be good again if you can't do it? I'm gonna go Niners.
No, that's fair. I think is are you going to be back for the start of the season? I forgot what his injury
I'm
was
not
like.
even sure. I'll have to wait till training camp to see the update on him.
Yeah, they need him. That's the top guy. They need him. I think without him, I don't know, but he'll be back eventually. So I think they have a good shot to win it. Um, AFC East is probably easy. I would assume we're gonna go Buffalo.
Yes, yes, Buffalo.
Buffalo. So that's an
But
easy one.
I will not sleep on the Patriots. I would not sleep on the
I think they could be
Patriots.
good. I think the Patriots can be good.
Vrabel's a different type of coach. That ain't Mayo over there. You play like Vrabel. He gets a lot out of his guys that you wouldn't
Yeah, for
expect.
sure.
And I think defensively they'll be a nightmare for a lot of teams.
Yeah, he definitely overachieved in Tennessee. Um, Other easier division, I would go with AFC South. I don't really see anybody competing with Houston. Indianapolis gets the hype every year. They never really come through. So I'm going with Houston. Who do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Houston.
All right. So the next two divisions are a bit, well, it depends who shows up. AFC
Yeah,
North, you got good teams. You got Baltimore. Pittsburgh's always there. We expect Cincinnati to bounce back. Cleveland, not so much. We like an AFC North.
Ravens.
Why Ravens?
It's just that like Cincinnati would probably give them the toughest, but as far as complete team, like no team has what they have on both sides of the ball.
They're definitely complete. I would say
Like,
that.
yeah, you could probably compete with them, on offense, but like their defense is gonna be the reason why, they can get up the field as far as like the Bengals can't get up the field.
Yeah. So, quick question on the Bengals. Do we think they make the playoffs this year? They bounce back? They got the offense, but that defense is bad.
Man, I'm gonna say no.
Back to back, no playoff seasons for them.
Which sounds crazy to even like say. I don't know if there's enough defense. I just don't, I gotta look at the schedule over. But if I had to just go off of just top of my head, I don't think the defense can get enough stops unless they're just gonna go full out shootout mode. Like I know I got to get 50,
They can't.
and which I know they could. The best 7-on-7 team in the league. Like, um, I'm gonna say no for right now.
So, if you go back to back seasons, miss playoffs, depending on how they look in those losses, at what
Zach Taylor
point?
got to go.
Yeah, well, at what point do you just not just him, but at what point do you think about blowing it up? I know you just got new contracts for Chase, new contracts for Higgins, so that's going to be tough. But
You just got to see where the money is, like where what guarantees are left, what's
yeah,
what, and then, but yeah, like they can't afford to miss the playoffs because then those conversations are definitely going to be had, especially if you're about to pay Trey, if you're not, or whatever's going to happen with that situation. So yeah, it'll be tough.
let's go with that rookie.
I'm man, for 3 sacks in college, man, you better go out there and just take that money. Like,
Yeah,
and that's just for like if he did something off the field, like they wouldn't give him his guarantee. Which if you breach your contract, which it's probably normal. They say it's more
Standard.
common than people think. Yeah, they say that's
Oh,
more
yeah.
common in contracts than people say. They just don't
Yeah.
talk about it.
Gotcha. Last but not least, a division I think was good last year. I think it'd be very good this year again. AFC West, you got the Chiefs, who are always the top dog, but then you got the Chargers, second year under Harbaugh. You got Denver, who came out super strong last year, and then Las Vegas, who probably will be better, but not necessarily contender. We like an AFC West.
Chiefs haven't lost that division in years. Go
Facts.
on Broncos. Go on Broncos. I think, man, I like what they did on defense. Bringing in Hufanga, drafting Jade Barron, one of my favorite corners coming out of Texas. RJ Harvey, you get a couple backs over there. They got Dobbins just now, within the last couple of days or something like that.
Yeah,
Bo Nix, like, hey, sophomore year, like the offense is there for him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just put up. They'll have one of the better defenses in the league, though,
yeah, for
easily.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a moment. I think that Denver is going to win it as well. I'm always skeptical to agree with you because whenever we're on the same page, it never seems to
Yeah,
turn
we
out.
both wrong. Yeah, both wrong.
So, but yeah, I like Denver a lot. We got 2 minutes left. So, who do you like out of each conference to come out of each conference? Just right now, not knowing anything, injuries, anything like that. It's way too early. Who do you think?
Way too early. I'm gonna say, yeah, Eagles not going back. I wouldn't even say that if I wanted to. Eagles ain't going back. Way too early. I'm gonna say Bucks versus
Wow,
Bucks. Nah, we're taking that back. I don't want to give. I don't want to see nobody else in the division. I don't. We're not ready. We need some. You know what? I think it comes from the NFC North this year. I don't know who.
love
Just pick an NFC North team. I
it.
think, yeah, like Lions got to go. Lions got to go. Lions. Damn. Oh, this is tough. It's got to be Lions Ravens, man. Why not?
That's
They have to go. Like those are two teams. Like yeah, like because at what point do the Lions say, you know what, maybe we gotta like look another way? Like I don't know. Lions
yeah.
Ravens.
That's actually who I was gonna say. So I don't want to say the same thing. So I go Lions and Buffalo because they're in the same boat. When is it gonna happen for Buffalo? So
Yeah.
it's either gonna be Buffalo or the Ravens, I think. But then the Chiefs always find a way to mess that up. But yeah, good episode. 4 day kick us off. Any shout outs?
Rooks, man. Summertime Rooks. You probably be on vacation somewhere. Make
Yeah,
sure we send her some likes, show her some love.
got to get her on for the draft some way
Put
somehow.
something. I just need her to say our names. Just say the top 10. Go on Match Day. Like, just say the top 10 names of the
Yeah,
league and then put us in our draft order. And she go on by her way.
yeah. We're gonna find a way to make it happen.